Hey there, I'm excited to share this new flower garden that we've created in the area next to the farmhouse. It's a deer-resistant herb and flower garden, and we've been working on it this summer, and it's just, it's pretty exciting to see what happened in just the last few months. So this area actually started out as grass, and it was about 3 to 4 feet higher. So we had to put a foundation in our old farmhouse, and in order to pass inspection after that was done, we had to dig out this area between the farmhouse and the driveway and dig it down so that it sloped away from the foundation. In doing that, we created this sunken area, and we also found that we have a lot of rocks and boulders. All of the rocks and boulders you see on the walls that we created to make this sunken garden came from excavating this area. It's a lot of rocks. We even found giant boulders, and we just kind of pushed them into place in certain areas. It is crazy, actually. Once we did the excavating to pass the inspection, we just put plastic over the whole area, and it stayed like that for a couple years while we worked on the inside of the farmhouse. When we were able to move in this last spring, I knew one of the first areas I wanted to tackle was this kind of eyesore right next to the farmhouse. So the first thing after pulling back the plastic is I measured out the beds that I wanted. They're almost equal, and I knew I wanted 4 beds with a pathway in between to have the bird bath. We had steps already down with the wall that we created, so that was our center path. And then I just collected more rocks from the property. We have a lot of rocks, did I mention that? And I created the outlines for the beds. So once the edges were all set with the rocks and where I wanted them, it was time to bring in soil. This was just a deep subsoil that we had excavated, so we knew we needed a lot of really good soil to feed the plants. So that was our next step. In thinking about the pathway, my dream was to have a gravel pathway. That's what we had in our other garden, and I really like that look. And but we have a problem with moles, and I knew if we put gravel down and moles came up, they'd bring dirt with them and they'd ruin the gravel, and it's hard to refresh that after they've destroyed it. So we went with a quick and easy, inexpensive, I hope temporary solution now until we get the moles under control, of putting just cardboard and wood chips. And this is also what I've done in the vegetable garden, and I have a video on how to do that, and it's just super easy. So that's one of the pros, is that it's pretty inexpensive to get wood chips. It's very easy and lightweight to lay. In just a few hours you can have a path done, and it should wear well, and it doesn't matter if the moles come up because it's easy just to lay more wood chips. But the cons, for me at least, are that it's kind of orange. It's really orange looking. It will fade a little bit. It'll take a while to fade. And it just doesn't have that look I was wanting of the gravel. But so that was our pathways. Now we have deer that visit this area nightly. And I didn't really want to deal with sprays or, electric fences or anything like that. I just kind of wanted to find some things that the deer and I could coexist with. And so far, this is working really well. They have hardly touched any of the plants here. So I'm going to go through the list, and we'll provide a list down below of all the plants in the garden right now. But I did want to mention a couple of tips for when you have a large area like this to plant, and just to keep the cost down a little bit. So the first one is to try to find herbs and you can find them at nurseries and growers. They come in small 2-inch pots, and they look very small when you get them, but they're usually like $2 each. They're really inexpensive. All the lavender that you see in this started out just in June, so a couple months ago, as 2-inch pots. They fill in pretty quickly, and it's a great way to save a little bit of money. The other tip is also to try to find perennials in 6-packs. Now in early spring, they often have these at nursery centers. And this Rudbeckia, Black-Eyed Susan, it started out as a little teeny plant in a 6-spot, and it grew this much in a few months. So definitely don't, it's okay to start small. They will grow, and they will grow quicker than you can imagine. So when I was planning out where I wanted the herbs, I do have some culinary herbs, and I did want them closest to our back door for getting from the kitchen. So I did plant them on the edge, on this bed and that bed. So I've got rosemary, oregano, we've got a parsley that the moles have come up underneath, and I think they've killed the parsley there. This is lemon verbena, which the deer have just totally ignored. All of these, any kind of smelly herby plant, they tend to avoid, and that's good for our gardens. On this side, more lemon verbena. I've got thyme, sage, parsley. The big plants of catmint are considered an herb, although they're not culinary, and they are great for filling in big areas. As you can see, they started out very small too. As far as flowers, in addition to the perennial Black-Eyed Susan that I showed you, and of course the lavender, it can be used as a culinary herb. I don't really cook with it that much, but I grow it mainly for flowers. These have done very well. This is a cone flower. This is a white cone flower, and I've also planted a purple variety. This flower here, this airy purple one, which hummingbirds love, is a salvia, and it's from the lips family. This is a purple lips, and we have a hot lips as well. And it has bloomed all summer. The bees love it, the hummingbirds love it, and it has filled out. Again, it started as just a very small plant. And so this is one of the best ones that we've had. So you might be wondering about the cage around these in my deer-resistant garden. These are crepe myrtle, and I researched some small trees that I could grow in this area and settled on a crepe myrtle for this number of reasons, and of course the literature says that it is deer resistant. And we immediately found out that the deer loved crepe myrtle leaves, and they completely cleared them off. So we had to cover them up. So that was kind of a deer resistant fail. I'm hoping that when they get big enough, they can withstand the deer and we won't have to keep them covered after that. So originally I wanted a boxwood hedge here. And when I went to buy boxwood, I found they were super expensive. So I changed my plan and got some of more of the $2 herbs. These are thyme, and I'm having a thyme hedge. So these are thyme, and the one on the end is a germander, which I think makes a really nice hedge too, but I couldn't find as many of them. So as far as next year and into the future, we have a couple of things we still need to do. I want to continue filling the beds so that they're full. I think that will just look really great, like a cottage garden. We need to make cement steps coming down into the garden and fix those, more permanent. And we also need to deal with the black plastic that you've probably noticed in the background. That's going to be more of a kind of a patio fire pit area is what I'm thinking. We're going to do some hardscape there with maybe some planting areas around it. So that's just another thing that is on our list of things to do. And I think that's it for this area. I'm really pleased with how it turned out, and I love looking through our dining room window at this view now instead of the black plastic. Okay guys, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time at An Oregon Cottage.